You never guess it, but being a drummer taught me more about building a high six-figure business than any MBA, any guru, any business book or mastermind that I ever have been in. Before I actually built my company, before I even closed my first deal or understood anything about business, I was behind a drum set, and every single gig depended on one thing, making sure I was keeping that beat no matter what was going on. If I missed the rhythm, the whole song would fall apart. So, years later, after building a business from zero to the high six figures in such a short period of time, after helping hundreds of entrepreneurs escape their burnout and chaos within their business, I realized something that it changed everything. Business works exactly the same way. And today in this video, I'm going to show you the rhythm that no one's teaching about. So, the first thing that I want to cover that I always keep in mind is like finding the beat. When I first started running my business, my days were chaos. Like sometimes I would miss meetings because I forgot to check my calendar. I would send emails out super late, forgot to respond to them earlier. I was doing projects all over the place, all different platforms, different systems, client calls. It felt like I was trying to play the drums, like early on when I was just starting lessons. Without a metronome, without a set list, without really even knowing what song you're playing, it's just noise. Random activity that it looks like work, but really leads nowhere. You're not moving the needle at all. But here's the thing that really messed with me. I was working harder than I had ever worked in my life, 60, 70 hours a week, but my business was barely growing because effort without that rhythm, it's just exhaustion. So one day I was sitting in my office. I was starting to get pretty burnt out. I saw my drum kit in the corner and I was like, huh, what if I ran my business the way that I learned to play music? Because here's what every single drummer knows: you don't get better by practicing randomly for 10 hours. You get better by practicing with structure for 1 hour consistently. Same exercises, same warm up, but just every single day consistently. So that's what I did. I tried an experiment. I started setting routines for my business, blocking out certain times, just like I would do for music. 15 minutes in the morning, I would do my morning routine and planning. What three critical tasks were before calls? I would review what we were doing on the call. I would go over the different outcomes that I would want. Things were planned. I didn't have client meetings here and sales calls there. Suddenly, everything started lining up. Meetings were happening on time. Projects were moving. My team knew what to expect. Clients were noticing the difference clearly because I was getting more clients, and the work that was being provided to them was at a much higher quality. So this alone can change your business. Business needs rhythm, not just motivation, not just hustle, not just working harder, but there's got to be a rhythm to it. Set that daily beat, whether it's in a morning planning block, review context before you show up at a meeting, then having an evening reset to close the day out and set up for tomorrow. I now use alarms for things. Calendar is clearly blocked off. I use different affirmations to get in the zone. It's much more automatic, so you don't need to think about it, because here's the real truth. Even on easy days, when you keep the beat and you don't feel like it, you then still keep the beat. And that's what actually separates professionals from amateurs. You might be thinking, though, okay, Graham, you're a musician. This makes sense to you. That's nice. But isn't this just the same thing as motivation? Or do musicians actually use real habits that translate into measurable business results? That's a great question. And that's what I'm going to show you. So, just like in music, structure creates freedom. This is something that most people get backwards about creativity. They think structure kills freedom. They think routine makes you robotic, or they think systems destroy spontaneity. But every world class drummer, including myself, knows that the opposite is true. Some of the best drummers in the world have a system for everything, even creativity. Dave Grohl, Travis Barker, Questlove, Neil Peart, John Fishman. These guys didn't become legendary by just winging it. They practice the same rudiments every day. They warm up the same way before each show. They use click tracks to stay in time. They follow a set list down to specifically what they're playing for each show. But that structure, it doesn't kill the freedom. It actually fuels it. Because when you don't have to think about the fundamentals, when your foundation is so solid, it's automatic. And that's when you can start to improvise at the highest level, stepping into that flow state. And then that structure creates space for magic. Is amazing. I started borrowing that exact idea for my business, and it completely changed the game. I stopped having random work days where I would just bounce between tasks. Instead, I created a set list for my business week. Certain days were for specific things. Client check-ins were on specific days. I'd make sure to put production in certain times, making sure to meet with my team and build for the business in certain times, improving processes, managing people. At the end of the week, I started taking off Fridays to go through what was working and like what the rhythm of the week coming up will be. So days started to have their own groove and their own purpose and energy. It felt so much different than it ever had before. And this new variety within structure, it kept me engaged because things were different, but in that flow. And it kept me productive. And this is what happened. I stopped feeling random. My team knew what to expect from me. Clients noticed I was more responsive. The flow and growth of my business was growing, not because I was working more hours, but because every hour had an actual purpose. So here's your second lesson to borrow from music. Make a set list for your business week. The first step you can do is list out your core activities. What are the 4 to 6 things that actually move your business forward? Sales, client delivery, marketing, operations, and then think about it. Second step is to assign specific times or time block specific days for each thing, so you're not completely scattered throughout the week. Give each task its own stage. The third step is protect the rhythm. No matter what urgent thing pops up, keep the rhythm and keep on that tempo that you have. Like, you may fall off a little bit, but get back on the beat. Because when you have that rhythm, urgency loses its power over you. You handle it within that structure. You improvise within the structure of the song, not by abandoning that structure. And so I know you're probably thinking, again, this sounds great on paper, Graham, but how does this actually look when it's happening in real life? And that's what I'm going to show you next, what it actually looks like, where you can actually be living in that rhythm. So for a month, I documented exactly what living in this rhythm actually looked like. Not the highlight reel, but the real day-to-day clarity. I even brought my drum pad to my desk, and in between things, I was able to mess around with my sticks. And every time I felt myself wanting to skip something or get on social media or just quickly respond to something, I'd stop and breathe, maybe tap on my sticks a little bit, ask myself, am I going to be in the groove or am I drifting? Don't get me wrong, like, this is a practice and I'm still constantly working at it, but just having this method to practice towards allows me to stay with that flow and moving the needle forward. So I started pinning my weekly calendar to the wall, And I could see, I would cross off things like when you go through a song, circling big wins, marking down the moments where everything hit perfectly so I can live in gratitude. Because when I live in gratitude, more things happen for me to be grateful for. My team, they started knowing what they were doing. Meetings were much smoother. I was hitting all the deadlines that I needed to. And because of all that, projects were moving along. I was getting clients consistently. It didn't feel like it was pulling teeth to get clients. Shift to start thinking about business in like rhythm and music really helped with personal productivity, because rhythm creates that culture. And when you have rhythm as a leader, your team is going to develop it too. They stop feeling reactive, they start feeling proactive. They know what's coming, they know their role. There's a clear beat that needs to happen. And suddenly, you're not just managing chaos anymore, you're conducting an orchestra. So, here's your third lesson that I want you to take away from this video is use some sort of tracker, whether it's calendar, whiteboard, sticky notes, Notion, Trello. Don't care what it is, just make sure it's visible. Something that you can see every day, and mark your progress like a beat in a measure. Celebrate that rhythm, not just the results. Don't just wait for the big win to feel good. Celebrate that you're just keeping the beat. Sometimes the simplest drummers are the best ones. Think of Ringo Starr. Celebrate that you stayed in the groove, that you showed up with structure. Because those small daily wins, they compound and they stack. And that's where massive transformation happens. But let me be honest with you, because I'm about to share something that almost destroyed everything that I built with this. And this is the caveat to all this, is when you think about losing the rhythm. Sometimes people don't know how to flow if they miss a beat in a song while playing or whatever. And this is something that no one tells you about rhythm and drumming. It's incredibly easy to lose sight. And when you do lose it and you don't have the right mindset, things can fall apart. One quarter, I'll never forget this. I convinced myself I needed to hustle harder. I looked at my revenue goals and thought, this is nice, but I just need to grind because my revenue's down this month. I just started going back to what I was doing. I ditched my routines. The morning planning started taking a back burner, thinking this takes too much time, it's too restrictive. The evening reviews got pushed to a side. I was just thinking, oh, I'll remember those things. And for a couple weeks, I was productive, because when you do anything like going hard like that, you're going to be somewhat productive. I was answering emails, all that stuff. But then it was working until it didn't. Projects started slipping. My team was getting burnt out. It was just working to just work. And so because I dropped the ball on a lot of this, the revenue dropped. I wasn't attracting the clients at the level that I had been doing. And this hard lesson that I learned in my business is that rhythm isn't boring. Rhythm is stability. It's the foundation that lets you build at a high level. And when you abandon it to just working at hustle harder, that whole hustle culture, you're not building anymore. You're just scrambling. And I really had to take a deep look at that. And so when I started getting back onto the sheet music and blocking out times and having my reviews, it kind of rebounded back to the where I was operating from that rhythm and the attraction and that flow state. Sales started coming back. They were coming back stronger than before. My stress went way down. Team was more in line. And just my company in general felt more alive. And so here's your fourth lesson that I want you to take from this is, please don't learn this expensive misstep like I did. If you feel like chaos is creeping in, whether you're missing meetings or people are leaving the team, or you forgot to stay true to your word and your energy is declining, or you get an anxiety, that's just your tempo slipping. And there's nothing wrong with it. When you're practicing anything, especially in music, if you fall off the tempo, you can either keep going and then things get a mess, or you can just push through so that you don't grind harder. You just stop, breathe, you rebuild the rhythm immediately, hop back on the one, and reset. So this is what you can do if you find yourself steering off, is just clear your calendar for a couple hours, plan, set up a morning routine, take a look at everything, rebuild the time for what you had for each specific task, get your team back in sync, and you can jump back on the beat. You don't have to let falling off completely screw up the song. There is a way to flow out of it. Does everybody have the rhythm? So if you're sitting there thinking, Graham, this sounds great for you, you're a drummer, you've grown up playing music for a long time, I'm going to stop you right there, because that's exactly what my clients have said before they tried starting to do something similar to this. They said they were allergic to structure, they were proud of being spontaneous, and a little resistant to anything that felt like a routine. And they didn't have any sort of music background. They're not creative or anything like that. That's why they hired me. They didn't have any natural rhythm. And she was great at my client was great at what they did, but the calendar was a disaster. Team didn't necessarily know what to expect. And they were saying that they've tried these things before, didn't quite work, and they weren't just wired to step into a rhythm, things like that. And so we started with just one habit, the weekly review, taking that Friday to like focus on yourself and your passions, and like looking at what you're doing to work on the business, maybe setting up for the next week, and just started with that one thing. And that first month, it felt awkward, forced, unnatural. You forget sometimes. Maybe it was a little half-ass, but just keeping with it. And then by month 2, something shifts. You start to see patterns. You start realizing that like Thursdays, they start feeling a little less chaotic because you're like planning for that Friday. Then again, like I said, things compound. By the next month, they couldn't imagine going back to not doing this process because routines felt less boring. They gave that freedom within structure because rhythm doesn't constrain you. It actually liberates you. You have a structure to improvise within. And when you have that, you're not constantly just making decisions on the fly of what to do next. You're not wasting your energy of, should I do this or should I do that? You're not fighting yourself every day. You're going with the flow because that rhythm carries you. And so I want to leave you with your 5th and final lesson here with this. Pick one habit, whether it's taking the Friday or doing a morning routine to plan, something to get you into momentum. Then get back into that flow and let it compound on each other. So once you take that one habit, then you can start adding the other ones back in. As it compounds by 2-3 months, you're going to get back into that flow because rhythm isn't just talent. It's a choice. It's like sales. Like people aren't just, some people are born good salesmen, but sales is a thing that you can teach. And so sticking with this is a choice that you make every day. And so if you stay consistent for 30, 60, 90 days, it starts to become ingrained. The question is, are you ready to find your rhythm and learn this drumming principle and how it can affect and grow your business? So if your business feels chaotic right now, if you're constantly putting out fires instead of building, or you're working on your business instead of in your business, and it's not sustainable, if you feel like you're working harder than you ever have, but you're not getting the results, not because you're lazy or anything like that, not because you're unmotivated or not smart enough, It's that you just don't have the rhythm yet. And that is exactly what we fix inside the Freedom Legacy Tribe. So inside this tribe, I actually help install these type of systems like the silent sales system so that your business keeps running smoothly, your sales keep coming in automatically, and your life feels like it's in rhythm again. Creative entrepreneurs come to learn how to blend that structure of business with the energy flow of life, and where you can discover how to scale without losing your sanity, where you actually build a business that works in alignment for you with your natural energy, not against it. Inside the tribe, you get a complete rhythm framework, how to go through your days using the silent sales system for maximum impact so that your business actually generates leads and revenue, even when you're offline doing things that you're passionate about, or like spending time with your family, who understand the balance between structure and creativity and how that has an effect on your flow and the way you operate your business. So if you want to join the community and access some of these frameworks, I'm going to leave the link in the description, and you can join the Freedom Legacy Tribe today. It's free to join, and let's start building your rhythm together. Again, you didn't start your business to feel chaotic. You started it for that freedom, for creativity, for a life that feels in sync with really who you are. Don't let the chaos steal from that. Build a system and a business that sells silently in the background while you live your life so that you can find your rhythm and live loudly. So if that sounds valuable, click the link in the description. We'll see you inside the tribe, and make sure that you follow, subscribe for more valuable videos like this. Have an awesome day.